Hello, and happy Monday. Thank you for joining me today. I've got a camera up there and I'm looking at the screen here. I'm just going to I'm logging in a little early these days. I just want to make sure everybody is here with us that would like to be. And if you're joining me today we are talking about seated use. There's lots of different ways that you can take advantage of using a machine seated. And there's different reasons you may want to use a machine seated. So over the next 3 weeks or so, I'm going to be going over some different options for seated use. And I've got a couple of very basic things here today. If you've never joined me for a session before, or you've never joined me for a seated session, I always recommend having a bar height stool. A bar height stool primarily because once you put your feet on the plate, you're seated up a little bit higher off the ground, and you want to compensate for the difference in the legs. So you want to look like this. You want to be at a good 90-degree angle. You want to be functional, so 90-degree or maybe a little higher depending on you. Using a machine seated is going to be an advantage for those of you that are not able to bear weight or not bear weight completely. Perhaps you are recovering from something, where you want to keep certain body parts out of the equation. Maybe you just want to chill and clear Facebook messages while you're surfing. So there's lots and lots of options and reasons that you can use a machine seated. I'm going to feature two different main points today. The type of machine that you may want to use if you're using a machine seated, and how do I put this nicely? Where you start and where you progress with this, I always hope is forward. But a lot of times you're just using the machine for the feel-good aspects. It's not always about getting fit, or it's not always about recovering from something. And many of you are using plates seated under your desk or in complement to other things that you're doing. So when you're using a machine seated in general, if you're dealing with just no issues, just as a feel-good situation, the how long and the how often is going to vary depending on how long it takes you to get relief. Or but what I don't want people thinking is because we're not putting forth effort and we're not doing per se squats and push-ups and those types of things, that you aren't receiving a multitude of benefits. So we're going to break down and work primarily on the legs today. The machine that I'm using today is one of the new hex plate models. And I wanted to show you this for a couple of different reasons. See, I've cut myself a little mat to fit so that you can see the buttons. Why might I need a mat with a model like this? This model has the acupressure or the little imprints on the plate surface. And for those of you that have seen me talk about these plates, there's a place for them, but I wouldn't recommend one of the magnetic therapeutic bump ones if your plan is to progress to standing and lots of it. If you're doing a little bit of standing, you're just doing some weight bearing, it's in complement to other things, I would recommend these are ideal more as a seated model, especially if you're working on sensitivity issues, things like neuropathy, acute, circulation, or perhaps lymphatic issues, where you're planning on spending more time seated, not just as a therapeutic piece, but a lot of times if you're managing symptoms with your vibration plate, you'll find that you are using them more often. So this would be, in a perfect world, you're striving to get more fit, but I like these. These are the perfect second plate. They're really light, lighter than the mini. This is the regular hex plate model. I'll show you the more compact model in the coming weeks. I think this one's about 15 pounds, so it's slightly lighter than the mini. It is about the same plate surface, not quite as wide, but with the magnetic bumps, the reason I recommend not long-term for standing, not saying that you can't use them for standing, but with the more compact models, you tend to have, they're less wide. And if you're tall, if you're dealing with lots of mass in the legs, you don't have as much flexibility over the intensity because there's not as much room to move your closer and wider. So the amplitudes on these are a little bit less simply because they're a smaller machine, but that also less amplitude, less movement, which you guys hear me preach about all the time, is the perfect complement if you are dealing with chronic conditions or you're just looking at, this isn't, you know, you're not trying to lose 80 pounds. So the therapeutic bumps are great when you're seated because we have minimal body weight in the equation. When you're standing, over time, they can dig in to the bottoms of the feet. Thus enters the mat. So if you do have a model with therapeutic bumps and you know your plan was never to stand on it and all of a sudden you progressed, or you know you thought maybe there was more benefit to this, it doesn't necessarily affect everybody, but some of my members and some of the users also in the VIP group have said, you know, it's kind of digging into my foot, or you know maybe you've got some foot issues and it's just not maybe the best complement for your personal situation. You can easily resolve that by just adding a mat to the surface of the plate. And one of the huge advantages of using an oscillating vibration plate, which is what all of my sessions are in, so we're going to get that going now. Oscillating mimics how we walk, side to side. It is the primary movement of these machines. There are other variations available, but oscillating is the most natural feeling because it most mimics how we walk across the floor. It's kind of the way our body was built to move forward and backward across the floor. When you're seated, you're taking a lot of the body weight out of the equation, but you're still getting a multitude of benefits. Some of those are things like circulation, lymphatic movement, relaxation of tense muscles and things like that. You are gaining some strength. You are building bone density because there is some mass being moved around and your body's having to absorb the movements that the plate are creating. So you are getting some benefits. You will get by far more bone density and strength gains by standing. So I do hope that eventually you progress. We're not going to progress anywhere near to standing until at least the third week in this series. I really want to cater to those of you out there that are limited to standing or just are limited to seating or just enjoy using it seated and want some new ideas. So one of the things that I really like to focus on for my seated users, if you are lacking mobility, strength, fatigue is setting in all the time and you spend a lot of time seated to begin with, you tend to lose strength, circulation, and lymphatic flow in these areas. Why? Because you're seated, and this is where all of the gravity and the blood flow is downhill. It's got to return uphill and counteract gravity. So a plate is a great way to kind of superficially increase your exposure to gravity. If you're finding, well, right now I'm just on the basic starting speed. I want to address speed. There's always two things to talk about. It's never a setting. It's never just one speed. Depending on how this feels to you, if it's feeling too intense, if you're dealing with lots of pain or swelling and there's just too much action, first modification is bring your feet closer. Or perhaps you're dealing with these issues. This is better done with the mat, especially if you're dealing with a model with bumps. Bring this feet up now. I left my remote in the house. I would recommend, this model's got 120 speeds. I like working somewhere in the 50 to 60 range. What you will find, especially if you're dealing with sensitivity issues, you're short on time, you want to get more done sooner, the mid to faster speeds or programs are going to feel smoother. As the machine moves faster, your body's got less reactive time. It feels less choppy. It kind of just starts feeling more like vibration versus movement that your body's trying to stable upon this plate. So if you now try wider, you'll feel it is more intense depending on the speed or program that you're using. But I would by far, especially if you're dealing with chronic issues, I would prefer your feet closer and a little faster. Play with that. So the first variation, I was talking about losing strength and flow in the lower legs. One thing, if you're dealing with all kinds of things, whether you're dealing with diabetes, heart issues, we want to work on the calf strength and the blood flow, especially if you're dealing with like intermittent swelling towards the end of the day. So besides just standing here, which you can, or sitting here with your feet on the plate, you absolutely can do this. I want to give you some variations. And the first one we're going to do is what's called a little bit of a calf pump. And we're going to do a very slow, feet are close. We're going to come up to the calves, and we're going to come back down and lift the balls of the feet, okay? Depending on the length of your foot, the height of your shins, you may want to adjust the position of your feet, but you want to make sure that your knees are never passing your toes. You can meet them, but you don't want to pass your toes. What that means is your body has shifted all the weight to the ball of the foot. It's a way your body cheats. But once we lose the weight or the mass in the heel, it really just becomes an ankle movement. And sometimes it's just an unnatural angle for the knees. And long term, I want to teach you proper use. But if you're going to put in the time and the effort, you may as well get the benefits. So these calf pumps, depending on your range of motion and your flexibility, you might feel a bit of a stretch in the shins as you lift the balls of the feet. You might want to go slower. I wouldn't go faster. This isn't a big cardio workout. But I would love to see about 10 to 15 reps, maybe about a minute of this. If you're dealing with neuropathy, poor mobility, a lot of us complain that it's so hard to get up out of that chair, or I can't get down onto the ground because I don't have the flexibility in the legs. That's part of it, but a lot of it is also your flexibility, strength, and range of motion in the ankles. I've always kind of wondered, I know it would look silly to us, but why the smaller muscle groups are at the lower part of the legs? I understand how the squats and the thighs and all that work, but they're bearing the most load. There's really nothing you can't do in your day where you're not affecting the feet, the ankles, and the calves if you're walking around in some fashion. So give them the attention they deserve. The next variation on this, I want to target the shins and the knees a little bit. I've got a handy dandy little chair here for a couple reasons. First thing we're going to do is we're going to just do some toe points. So we're going to lift the toe, point, try and get as straight a leg as you possibly can. And we're going to alternate. 2, 3. You probably have better range of motion on one side than the other. Still keep a good posture. I have a tendency to kind of lean and get into this. I should be teaching you best practice. So best practice, straight spine, engage the core. Make sure you're breathing. Simple things, okay? If you lack mobility, and this is hard for you to do without having a chair back or arms, then get a stool that has a chair back and arms. There's all kinds of things on the market. And a hydraulic lift stool. If you've seen some of my other sessions, I've got lots of different stools, but get something that you feel comfortable and stable in, especially if you're dealing with mobility issues. So same on this, 5 to 10 reps, about a minute. We're about 2 minutes in, less Debbie's talking. The next one, I want to focus more on the calves and the hamstrings. So depending on you and where you're doing your thing, you might use the edge of a sofa. You might be doing this at the kitchen table. You might need something lower. Maybe you don't have this range of motion. Maybe you need something higher because you have better flexibility. So I'm just extending one leg, and I've got my heel hooked on the chair in front of me. For those of you, many of my guys out there in particular, you're probably already feeling this. So if you're already feeling this, that's fine. Just leave it and slowly, just lean forward slightly. Keep it a good posture. Okay, then we're going to switch. You may need help if you're dealing with mobility issues. Okay, this is a great one for my therapists or my healers out there. If you're doing other modalities, you're working on those thighs, maybe using a massage gun. This is something you can do while adding the plate for more stimulus. Okay, this one about good 4 or 5 reps, especially if this is hard for you. Okay, even though you're not standing, this is exercise. We're doing moves. If you've got better range of motion and you want to do a little faster, and the less you help your legs, the more you're contributing to strength, okay? So once this starts becoming easy, then start adding a lean forward, okay? Then you'll feel that stretch again, okay? It really depends on your range of motion now. Okay, so that's just a variation I love lately. One more variation on that one, and I wanted to warm up the hamstrings prior to doing this. It's sort of related, but it's not related. Sciatica, if any of you are dealing with sciatica, plantar fasciitis, drop foot, all these somewhat associated issues, that they're compensating for something that they come up because your body's compensating for something else. Maybe it's a bad hip, bad knee, bad back, bad attitude. There's lots of reasons our body, changes how it stands and supports itself as it does things to compensate for deficiencies. So sciatica is just a common one, and it's one I like to teach you seated on a stool, because you can also do this seated in your office chair, anywhere you happen to be seated. It's just always better on a plate. So sciatic is very similar to the one we just did. I don't want you using the chair for this one. I want you using your own strength. This is called a nerve floss. If you want a little more in-depth, Google it. Stretch this leg forward, whatever your range of motion allows. This leg as straight as possible. Once at the same time, pardon me, I want you straight core, but I want you looking at a 45-degree angle. Elongate that spine, and then bring it back down. Then we got to do the other side. Maybe it's only presenting on one side, but if you've got a problem on one side, the other side's doing all the compensating. So do it for preventative reasons. Lift. We're looking at a 45, 2, 3, release. This one, how many reps? I don't know. When are you feeling relief? Sometimes for me, if I'm doing all those things I'm not supposed to do and I haven't warmed up, I need to do this one a couple times. And what I do is I let my body tell me. If your symptoms are presenting and it's things like pain or it's swelling, then give yourself relief. Don't leave it till the end of the day where it's so severe and so painful that you can't even get into this position. So if you have access to your machine throughout the course of the day, many of the things I'm showing you can be used as just symptom management things on their own, a minute or two here and there as you need it. You're going to be on Zoom for 2 hours sitting in your recliner, then get some blood flow and some circulation going first. So yeah, this one, same thing. Perhaps 4 to 5 reps per side is a great way to get started. For those of you that are in better shape or perhaps have better range of motion, there's another variation for sciatic that I also love to do seated. You can also do this on the ground, laying on your back, is what's called a figure 4 stretch. We're going to take one leg, we're going to lay just above the ankle on the lower leg, not the ankle all runched up. Okay, if you cannot do this, start practicing in a chair first. Okay, good posture, and this is not flexible. I want you pushing like somebody, you're a puppet and somebody's pulling you like a string across. Lean forward with the chest. For my ladies, push the girls forward, and you're gonna feel that hamstring and up into almost the hip flexors. Take your hand to your knee, keeping our posture and that basic stretch, and apply a little pressure. And you'll just feel those hip flexors open up so nicely. If you have range of motion and you're seated on the plate, for those of you sitting on the plate, this is a great one when you're sitting down on it as well. Same deal, probably 4 to 5 reps on this one. I've totally been in the garden, so I probably have the dirtiest feet. I'm just thinking about that. And you're gonna have one side that's better at this than the other. For me, it's always my left side. The flexibility's there, but the pain is worse. That's my bad knee side, that's my compensating, okay? If you just need a quick fix, this is a really good one, seated in a chair at the office. I have been seen driving down a highway, with my foot up on the steering wheel, just trying to stretch. You get to a point where you do these types of exercises and you do need to progress. So for those of you that are at a point of flexibility, you want to push this a little further, a variation on this one, bring that lower leg up into a calf raise, then push forward. And you'll hit it pretty quick. So you're doing the calf raise, okay? You are only limited by your imagination and your range of motion and how much I babble. So other side, get into position first, raise up onto that calf, then lean forward. You want to make sure for some of these variations, obviously, please, that you have stability and strength in the ankle to be experimenting with these things. If not, keep it more simple. So that one in itself, again, 4 to 5, maybe, half a dozen if you're feeling, but if you're doing it more regularly, maybe you're adding it onto your regular routine, or maybe you're doing it before you go to the club or after. It's an amazing maintenance tool. So once you get these issues resolved or you see some relief, don't stop doing the things that fix them. Keep the maintenance piece going. Very, very key. If you're finding as you've done some of these, and it's not uncommon that you're itchy as heck right now, that's a common increase in circulation, blood flow. You got detox going on. There's all kinds of different benefits, as I said. And for those of you that are using it seated for symptom relief or just for boosting energy, it is absolutely fine to use your machine multiple times a day, but keep it to minute. It doesn't need to be a 10-15 minute session. It doesn't have to be every exercise. Pick one or two that are kind of your go-to feel-good moves and mix it up once in a while. Symptom management, lifestyle improvements, bursts of energy, mental clarity, reducing pain. All these benefits don't never ever mean necessarily a 10 to 15 minute workout. And very often what they do in the long term is facilitate your ability to do more longer duration, more challenging positions, and eventually, as I said, get to those standing exercises. So again, if you're feeling itchy, it's kind of a common newbie thing that dissipates typically within about 2 to 3 weeks of consistent use. And any of the benefits you ever read about, any study that ever came out with these vibration plates, consistency is really the key. A lot of the conditions, if you're dealing with chronic issues, have probably been decades in the making. 2 to 3 sessions isn't going to completely counteract everything that we've done over the course of 40, 50 years of living. So if you find you have low tolerance due to sensitivities, you're frail, you're just very deconditioned, this is a fantastic tool to start kind of renovating the foundation of the house. Let's get those feet, those calves moving. We're going to talk more specifically next session about feet, ankles, some of the tools that you can use to improve those. If you haven't seen some of my sessions in the past, I absolutely recommend joining me next week. And if you know someone that is dealing with poor mobility, that you never thought about the things that you could do seated on a machine, there's lots and lots of variety. In the third week, I'm going to talk about how to add upper body and core exercises while you're seated. So again, today was about getting some leg strength, some circulation in the lower extremities, and getting started on a seated basis is really ideal. If you have any fear at all, perhaps you've had a poor experience using one of these. Maybe you had poor guidance or you had no guidance at all. And, the book is never absolute for every single person out there. It's impossible for Life Pro or any trainer or doctor or therapist to come up with one cookie cutter way to use this tool, because you're all individuals. And this is just a tool. This is a tool that facilitates maybe some of these exercises you're supposed to be doing already now, seated in a chair. They're just going to increase the effectiveness. They're going to decrease the time. And you know what? It happens to be a whole lot more fun. So tomorrow I am going to be here for another special session, same time, same place, same rambling Debbie. I don't know if you've heard, but Prime deals start tomorrow. Imagine, on the 15th and the 16th. No, 16th and the 17th in the US. So there's Prime deals with Amazon, absolutely, but Life Pro also has amazing Prime deals, which has started today. So 50% off, free massager. Check it out online. If you haven't been to their site lately, there's just a multitude of new and exciting items coming in all the time. So check out and see. There's some limited time deals, like I say, up to 50% off. There are also some 20% off on some newer items if you haven't checked out what's come in lately. And if you are looking at using a machine seated, or you're looking at a secondary machine, my recommendation for a light, super portable, set it up wherever you're going to use it throughout the day, make it accessible. Check out the new hex plate models. The Mini is always an awesome choice. So is the Waver. The reason I recommend kind of singular movement and basic machines for seated use is you do tend to be moving them around, whether it's putting it under your desk or somewhere else in the office. And you want to make sure, if it's 50, 60 pounds and you're dealing with a bad back, you're probably not going to be moving it around as much as you had intended. So check out the new hex plate models. I was using the regular one today. There is a slightly smaller model. Make sure you look at the weight capacities and think about what you're going to be using it for. If the goals are long-term, to be standing, losing some weight, gaining strength, recovering, and you plan to do more training, you may want to look at a larger plate or some of the combo models to just give you some additional features and challenge as you progress through your wellness or your fitness journey. So I hope that helped everybody today. I hope it gave you some new ideas. Like I say, try one, try none, try all of them. These are just seeds I hope to plant and help you grow with success in your journey. So I'm going to see if I have anyone here that wanted to talk to me. If you are here joining me today and you have any questions, please answer. I'm happy to answer those for you now. If you're watching this on a recorded basis, or I have rambled you to sleep and you don't think it's about something until maybe after the fact, message me or tag me at Debbie with a Y. Sometimes if you make comment or you just reply and you don't name me specifically and things get going, I don't always get the notifications. I do get a lot of direct messages. So please, if whatever session it is that I'm rambling about, whether it's today's or another, just tag me right in the comments at Debbie with a Y. I'll be sure to be notified and get those answers back to you. Have a great start to your week. It doesn't look like I have any questions today. Look how smart everyone is. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't work too hard. And I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow, same time, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Talk about some of the deals and maybe a few things that are intriguing to me for some of my members. So thank you for joining me. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you very soon.